Life often feels like a tumultuous sea where the winds of everyday responsibilities and the waves of emotional challenges collide in constant motion. In the midst of our daily lives, it's not uncommon to feel overwhelmed, lost, or disconnected from the world around us. We wake up, go through our tasks, engage with others, and collapse at the end of the day, sometimes uncertain of whether we have truly lived or merely existed. In these moments of uncertainty and doubt, many of us yearn for guidance, solace, and a sense of purpose. It is at times like these that faith can become a refuge, an unshakable foundation that provides stability when nothing else seems certain. Humanity has, since time immemorial, sought to commune with a higher power for reassurance and direction. We call out to God, often in our most vulnerable states, asking for wisdom to navigate the dark corridors of our own confusion. When we embrace prayer, reflection, and silence, something remarkable happens. We begin to recognize that God speaks to us in mysterious ways, gently offering clarity, strength, and reassurance during our most trying moments. It might not be an audible voice that booms from the heavens, nor a dramatic sign in the sky, but rather subtle prompts, soft whispers that encourage us to move forward, to make a difficult choice, or to trust that love and goodness still prevail. Life can be a roller coaster of emotions, and there are days when it feels as though we are embarking on a dance through a winding maze, unsure of where our path leads. We may question whether we have the ability to persevere, whether we are on the right path, or whether we have the capacity to truly make a difference. Yet, in these moments of doubt and confusion, God's voice rings more clearly than ever, like a gentle whisper that calls us by name and reminds us of our inherent worth. Each obstacle we encounter can become an opportunity for growth. Every setback, a chance to learn, and every burden, an invitation to lean into grace. Indeed, it is often through the trials of life that we discover our deepest capabilities and find ourselves guided to a purpose that transcends our own limited perspective. With unwavering love, God calls us to trust in Him, to lean on the power of faith, and to see our challenges not as insurmountable barriers, but as stepping stones toward greater understanding of ourselves, others, and the divine. We are never truly alone on this journey. God's divine presence walks with us every step of the way. Even when we feel as though our prayers go unanswered or fall on deaf ears, there is, beneath the surface, a larger tapestry at work. Yet, how do we listen for God's voice in an increasingly noisy world? It begins with creating room in our daily lives for reflection, prayer, and mindfulness. In the serenity of quiet moments, when the sounds of the outside world fade away, we can attune ourselves more keenly to the gentle prodding of the Spirit. Prayer is not just about speaking, it is also about listening. When we kneel or bow our heads and address God, we open our hearts and invite divine wisdom to dwell within us. In silent stillness, we begin to discern subtle signs, an urging to act with compassion, an internal nudge pushing us to reach out to someone who may need help, a sense of peace that washes over us when we consider a particular decision. These are the delicate signs of God's guidance, meant to illuminate the roads we travel. Additionally, God often speaks to us through the people we encounter in our lives, friends, family members, or even strangers we meet by chance. Their words, encouragement, or simple acts of kindness can carry profound messages, especially when our hearts are open to receiving them. A conversation that sparks a new insight, a thoughtful gesture in a moment of despair, or a piece of advice that resonates deep within our spirit may be a manifestation of divine guidance. Sometimes, a seemingly random encounter is divinely orchestrated to deliver exactly the wisdom we need. God's voice can also be heard through the pages of sacred texts. Throughout centuries, holy writings have served as guiding lights, containing teachings and stories that transcend time and culture. They offer frameworks for leading compassionate, purposeful lives anchored in faith and grace. By reading and meditating on passages that speak to our current situations, we invite fresh revelations that aid us in understanding how to navigate the complexities of modern life without losing sight of our spiritual grounding. Yet, even as we seek to hear God's voice and decipher divine messages, we must also remain mindful of the distractions that barrage us from every angle. Our modern world is brimming with stimuli, social media feeds that never end, news cycles that move at breakneck speed, and countless forms of entertainment that clamor for our attention. These diversions can easily drown out the still, small voice within. Making deliberate space for silence and introspection is critical if we hope to hear the whispers of the Spirit. In our pursuit of meaning, we are bound to encounter trials that test our faith. When waves crash and storms roar, it can feel as if we are sinking with no lifeline in sight. Yet those very moments of upheaval often refine our spiritual senses, compelling us to cling more tightly to God's loving presence. The voice of God becomes a beacon of hope, illuminating a path through the darkest nights. It reassures us that the hardships we endure can give birth to resilience, forging an unshakable faith that cannot be toppled by life's tempests. Of course, one of the most challenging aspects of discerning God's voice lies in differentiating it from our own desires, fears, or ambitions. How do we know when it is God, rather than our egos, speaking to us? The key often is developing a skill called discernment, a process that emerges naturally from a deep, ongoing relationship with God. Discernment grows when we are willing to set aside our personal agendas and remain open to the possibility that God's plans may differ from our own. We learn to test the promptings we sense, seeking alignment with principles of love, peace, and compassion. If the direction we sense pushes us toward greater unity, kindness, and moral integrity, it is more likely to reflect the divine will rather than self-serving impulses. It can be humbling to realize that some hardships may, in fact, be invitations to grow in ways we never anticipated. We might encounter injustices, losses, or heartbreak. Yet, as we hold fast to faith, we find that God's grace abounds even in the bleakest circumstances. The strength we need is always accessible, enabling us to rise above adversity and emerge stronger and wiser. Throughout history, countless men and women have endured unimaginable trials, only to testify that they sensed divine presence supporting them throughout their ordeals. Their stories serve as reminders that the flicker of hope is never extinguished, no matter how fiercely the winds blow. You might wonder if all of this applies to you in your unique, personal journey. And the answer is a resounding yes. Right now, as you read these words, you might be facing doubts, uncertainties, or even unspoken fears that weigh upon your spirit. God sees your struggles, cradles your worries, and stands ready to uplift you. You are never alone. The love that flows from the divine is constant, wrapping around you like a warm embrace, even in moments of deepest despair. Amid the swirling chaos of life, there could be specific challenges that threaten your sense of peace. Perhaps there are individuals, these four women, as you have perceived, standing near your home, metaphorically poised to snatch your joy. They might represent actual persons, or they might symbolize negative influences, such as fear, anxiety, regret, or doubt. Regardless, rest in the promise that divine love will shield you. No matter what form they take, these threats cannot stand against the boundless power of compassion and faith. The storms of life may howl and rage, but they cannot extinguish the radiant spark of God's presence that resides within you. Above all, love remains the guiding force that sustains us when all else seems to crumble. When you practice love, both for yourself and for others, you open a channel for God's grace to flow through you. Each act of kindness, each moment of compassion becomes an avenue for divine communication. By reaching out to those in need, you may discover a sense of purpose and belonging that you never imagined. This sense of connectedness reflects the heart of spirituality, an awareness that we are all bound together in the tapestry of humanity, upheld by a power greater than ourselves. So breathe deeply, pause, and realize that the love of God envelops you today and always. There is immeasurable hope in knowing that wherever you walk, you do not walk alone. There is comfort in trusting that no matter how dense the darkness, the light of faith will guide your steps. And there is incredible reassurance in hearing that gentle voice, the sacred whisper, remind you that you are cherished beyond measure. As you continue forward, reflect on these truths and welcome them into your heart. However strong the winds of life may blow, God's love stands as an unassailable fortress. No matter the shape of your struggles, no matter the weight of your burdens, divine presence is there to shoulder them with you, to transform what seems impossible into a path toward understanding and grace. Allow your prayers to become conversations with the one who knows your heart better than you know it yourself. Know that you are held, guided, and protected. Today, take that profound step of faith. Lift your voice, whisper or shout, "I love you so much, God," and claim this promise with every fiber of your being. Embrace it, live it, and let the light of divine hope illuminate your every step. You are never abandoned and never overlooked. Trust, pray, and love, and in those sacred commitments, you will find the resilience and joy that no worldly force can ever snatch away.